Welcome to the Elevate Your Ride podcast, where rider performance is taken to the next level through conversation and education. Our episodes range from rider health to horse training to the stories behind successful amateurs and more. I'm your host, Ellie, personal trainer for equestrians. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, you guys, welcome to another episode of Elevate Your Ride. Today, you're here with your host, Ellie, personal trainer for equestrians. And today we are actually in my home gym. So I know that we have been putting out a lot more video content lately, and I would actually really like your guys' feedback on if you're enjoying the video content. I would imagine that a lot of our listeners are listening to these podcast episodes that we put out when they're multitasking. So either when they're out for a walk or riding their horse or working out. And so I just kind of want some feedback for if you guys are able to make the time to sit down and watch the video podcast or not, because I like doing both. I like doing the video, but I also think there's a lot of benefit from doing the audio only podcast because there's no pressure to dedicate the time to sit down and actually watch the whole thing. So if you guys want to send me some feedback, that would be fantastic. And today I am going to be doing a video podcast, but if you can only listen to it, that is just fine. I'm going to be explaining what I'm doing. So thanks for tuning in. Today, I wanted to go back to talking about fitness a little bit. So we just wrapped up the episode series with Beth Clemons Performance Horses. I am so happy with how that turned out. It was so much fun. But today, I wanted to kind of recap what I learned from Beth and what I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks and months to improve my riding based off what I learned from Beth. So mainly going to be talking about the most recent episode I did with Beth, where it was a horsemanship lesson where she was teaching me. And there were three main things that I really took away from that lesson with Beth and just watching her ride in general over the weekend. And the three things are that I'm riding too much with my body, I'm not riding enough with my feet, and I need to be able to steer better through my seat and improve my ability to rotate. And luckily for me, those are all things that I can work on in the gym. So today I'm basically going to be taking you through the exercises that I'm going to do to actually work on that. So if you watch that episode and you're like, wow, I also struggle with those things, then stay tuned because I'm going to give you the answers for how to hopefully continue working on it. I also wanted to give you guys a tour of my new home gym, which I'm so excited about. I love it. If you are able to build a home gym or a garage gym, I cannot recommend it enough. It keeps me so much more consistent. I've got no excuses because all I have to do is walk downstairs to my garage to work out. It's fantastic. So we painted the gym section this kind of dark charcoal color, which I absolutely love. Got this nice arch mirror, which I love. And then I've got kind of some yoga mats and stretching, some resistance bands over here. I've got a treadmill and an assault bike. I've got really nice gym flooring, which I love. And then out here, this opens up to my neighborhood, which I really enjoy being able to open this up and get some fresh air while I'm working out. I've got a nice squat rack set up with the cable attachments. So a lot of different exercises that I can do with this squat rack. It's also got a pull-up bar. It's very, very nice. Got a bench, got a barbell, all the things. And then over here, I've got a mini fridge with beverages in it. I've got another bench that has the leg extension, hamstring curl, and preacher curl attachment. Love this bench. And then over here, I've got a bunch more equipment, bunch of free weights, starting from ones all the way to 50s. Got some med balls, some kettlebells, weighted vests, yoga blocks, so many things. And then my favorite part of the gym, we bought a sauna. This has been the best thing that I've done for my back pain. So if you've been watching my video for a while, you know that I struggle with back issues, and this sauna has been a major life changer for me and for my husband as well. So I get in it when I'm done with my workouts, and I've actually been doing a lot of stretching in there, which has been really nice. So yeah, this is my home gym. Absolutely love it. So yeah, look forward to creating more gym content for you guys. So, first, I want to talk a little bit more about that horsemanship lesson specifically. So, watching it back, I definitely feel like I was riding more timidly than I normally would. Probably because I'd never ridden that horse before. I'd never ridden with Beth. I was also filming it and knowing that I was going to post it on the internet. So, I definitely did not hold and kick as much as I normally would. I definitely felt like I was not riding to my full potential, which I feel like is something that a lot of amateurs struggle with, especially in kind of a new environment. I know that when I get to a show and I'm riding around in the warm up pen, I definitely ride a little bit more timidly. So, something that I have to remind myself and tell myself in those instances is to just ride, do the best that you can. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. And I was definitely a little afraid to make mistakes when I rode with Beth. So, that's something that I can work on in the future. But yeah, again, I was not as tight in my position as I would have liked to have been if I had been showing or if I'd, gone out and taken more and more lessons, not just the one. I probably would have ridden in a more tight position. So I typically am a more tight rider in general. And so that's something that I've really been working on the last couple years is loosening and strengthening up my hips that way I can flow with the rhythm of the horse and connect to my seat more. So for the horses that I ride at home, I've been trying to ride with less hand, with less leg, and really focus on my hips. And I've had a lot of success with that. I've also been strengthening my hips in the gym, and that's been going really, really well. I've been really enjoying the results that I've been getting. And I feel really, really strong in the saddle when I ride at home. So super happy with those results. And I'd kind of known that I needed to get my feet back in action a little bit, but that lesson with Beth really showed me, okay, I need to start riding with my feet more and driving the horses back up to my seat with my feet. Anytime that you're trying to improve something in your riding, it's always like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So I felt like I made a lot of momentum with my seats the last year and a half, 2 years, but I lost a little bit of control with my feet. So, gonna work on that. Are you always hearing, roll your shoulders back, push your heels down, add more leg, but you don't feel like you can? These cues will feel like a constant fight if your mind and body has not developed the proper connection, coordination, mobility, stability, and strength required. At Lope and Down the Rail Fitness, I create customized workout plans for riders so you can become a stronger athlete for your horse. If you're ready to ride more effectively, visit my website, lopeanddowntherailfitness.com, linked in the show notes of this episode, and start training with purpose to elevate your ride. So, first, I want to talk about how I mobilized and strengthened my hips to get to that point in the saddle where I didn't feel like I had to rely on my hand and my legs so much. So, I want to talk a little bit about our hips and the roles that they play in the saddle when we ride. So, our hips have 6 main different functions. So, you've got the hip flexors on the front of the hip that are mainly responsible for what is called hip flexion. So that would be raising my knee up in front of my hip or bending my leg from the hip. And then if we move to the outside, we have the outer thigh and the outer glute muscles. Those are responsible for abduction or moving my leg further away from the center of my body. And they're also responsible for external rotation of my hip. So opening up my hip, which is something that we do when we ride. And then on the back side, we have our main glute muscles. These muscles are responsible for bringing our legs back behind us and pushing our hips forward. So when you're riding, when you're trying to pull your leg back, or when you're coming into a posting trot, those are all through the glute muscles. And then we have the inner thigh or the adductor muscles. So these muscles are responsible for what is called adduction. So bringing the leg closer to the center line of our body, and then also internal rotation of the hip. So those are the main functions of our hips. So I really attacked how to strengthen each of those muscles individually through isolation exercises first. And then I focused on exercises that use the hip as a whole to teach them how to work together. So if you're working on your hip strength and your mobility, first you have to work on mobilizing the joint and the flexibility of all the muscles. And then you have to work on strengthening all those muscles individually so they learn how to work on their own. And then you have to teach them how to work together. And you have to do all three and you can't skip steps. So I'm going to show you the hip mobility exercises that I've been doing to get me to the point that I am now. So first thing we're going to work on is internal and external rotation of our hips. And I like to do that through 90-90s. So I'm sitting up nice and tall. My legs are in 90-90 positions as I'm sitting on the ground. So both of my knees are bent at 90 degrees. I'm going to sit up nice and tall. I'm going to keep my feet planted. I'm going to lift my knees and switch over to the other side. Okay. And then I'm going to stay here for a moment and then I'm going to lift my knees and I'm going to switch over to the other side. So this is probably the most beginner basic version of this exercise. As you progress, you want to hold those arms up in front of your chest, lift those knees and switch sides. So I'm not relying on my arms to help me on the ground. And then to progress even more, I can use my hip flexors to bend over at the waist. And then I can use my glutes to push up off the ground. Then I can sit back down, keep those feet planted, lift those knees and flip over to the other side, bend over, step back up, push those hips forward off the ground, step back down and repeat. So that is my favorite basic hip mobility exercise, working a lot on internal and external rotation, and then a little bit of hip flexion and hip extension through the hip flexors and the glutes. But I would also add in a specific hip flexor and glute, a hip flexion and a hip extension exercise. So I'm laying on my side, both my knees are bent and my feet are together. And I'm going to raise this top leg up a couple of inches. Then I'm going to use my hip flexor to pull my leg as far forward as I can. Then I'm going to use my glute to push my leg as far back behind me as I can. So I'm keeping that knee bent at 90 degrees. I'm keeping those core muscles nice and engaged. And I'm just moving through hip flexion and hip extension. Okay. So again, that's a fairly beginner exercise. Next, I'm going to move on to how I like to strengthen the hip. So I'm going to start with the hip flexors. So I'm going to lay a dumbbell flat down on its side. It's not propped up, so it's not very tall. I'm going to sit on the ground with my feet spread apart about the width of my yoga mat. I'm going to sit up nice and tall, get my core nice and engaged. Then I'm going to use my right hip flexor to lift my right leg up and over my dumbbell and down on the other side next to my left leg. And then I'm going to go back up and over my dumbbell to the other side. Now I'm going to alternate legs. So left leg up, over and down. Left leg goes back, up, over and down. So you keep going, keep alternating sides to challenge the hip flexor. So that's the most basic way that I like to strengthen the hip flexors. And then for a little bit more advanced version is I stand up nice and tall. I'm holding the dumbbell against the front of my right thigh. And I'm going to use that right hip flexor to go up into hip flexion. And then my glute's going to pull back down. I'm going to go up and then back down. So this is strengthening my hip flexor through a fuller range of motion. And if you need some balance, you can hold on to a wall. From there, let's talk about how to strengthen the outer glutes. Okay, what moves our leg away from us and externally rotate. So I'd like to start off with what's called a side lying hip abduction. So I'm going to lay flat on my side. And I'm going to start with both legs straight. So my knees are straight, my hips are straight. I'm going to use this top outer glute, my right glute, to lift my right leg straight up. And it's going to come back down. It's going to go straight up. And then it's going to come back down. Okay. And then I also need to focus on external rotation of this right hip. So I'm going to bend my knees. I'm going to keep my feet together. I'm going to use that right outer glute to lift up into external rotation. Then I'm going to come back down. Lift up and then come back down. Okay. So that is the most basic way, I think, to strengthen those outer thighs and outer glutes. To progress, you can put a dumbbell on your hip for that side lying hip abduction, or you can do a lateral walk. So I'm going to do a horsemanship position. I'm going to go down into a squat. I'm going to take 4 steps laterally to the right, not very big steps. And then I'm going to take 4 lateral steps to the left. Okay. You can progress this by putting a band around your thighs, just above your knees. You can hold dumbbells, lots of ways to progress that. And then we can move on to talk about strengthening the inner thighs. So my beginner-friendly exercise for strengthening the inner thighs would be through a plie squat. So I'm going to stand up nice and tall, legs nice and far apart, toes turned out. I'm going to go down into a squat, then I'm going to stand back up. Go down into a squat, stand back up. making sure that these inner thigh muscles are really pushing up. For a more advanced version for strengthening the inner thighs, I like to do Copenhagen planks. So it's basically an elevated side plank with a bench. So I've got a bench here, and I'm going to lay on the floor, propped up on my right elbow, like I would set up for a side plank. I'm going to lift my top leg, my left leg, up on top of the bench. My left knee stays bent, and my left knee is on top of the bench. From here, I'm going to go up into a side plank. So I'm going to use my right oblique, lift up into that Copenhagen plank, side plank, and I'm going to hold here. Okay. This is really challenging this inner thigh. That's the most basic way to do a Copenhagen plank. Make it a little bit harder. I'm going to straighten my leg, and I'm going to put just halfway down my shin on top of my bench. From here, lift up and hold. Okay. Looks easy. It's not. Okay. From here, I'm going to talk about some glute strength. So best way to strengthen the glutes for a beginner is through some glute bridges. So I'm going to lay on my back, knees bent, feet on the floor. I'm going to use my glutes to push my hips off the ground, and I'm going to come back down. Glutes push up, then I come back down. I can progress by putting a weight in my lap, or I can move on to single leg glute bridges. So I could raise my left leg up in the air and use this right glute to push up and come back down. Push up and come back down. I could also do a glute bridge march. So I could go up into a glute bridge and then alternate marching one knee up over my hip, keeping my knee bent at 90 degrees, challenging my glute strength, glute stability, core stability. Another beginner-friendly glute exercise that I like is donkey kicks and fire hydrants. So I'm going to start on my hands and knees, get good core engagement, use that right glute, push that right leg up, and then come back down. Okay, so I'm keeping my knee bent to 90 degrees. And then I could do a fire hydrant, same movement, but I go laterally. So I keep my knee bent at 90 degrees, go out and in, out and in. Okay, you can progress again by putting on a band. For my more advanced people, I like doing a lot of single leg RDLs for glute strength. So I can grab 2 dumbbells or a barbell. I'm going to stand up nice and tall. I'm going to stand on my right leg. My left leg is back behind me just a little bit with my left toes down on the floor. Stand up nice and tall, good core engagement. My hip is going to push back, and then my glute pushes forward. I'm going to push back, push forward, not putting much weight in this back foot. Okay. All right. So lots of ways to progress in RDL. It's where I like to start. Now let's talk about some ways that we can make the hips work all together. So we can do some combination exercises, like I could do a curtsy lunge to an RDL. So I'm standing on my right leg. It's not going to move. I'm going to step that left leg back, go into an RDL. Then I'm going to step that left leg back into a curtsy lunge. Okay. Now I'm going to go into an RDL and then into curtsy lunge. I could make it even harder by adding in a knee raise. Okay. So I could go back into my curtsy lunge and then up into a knee raise, into my RDL, back into my curtsy lunge, up into a knee raise, into my RDL. Right? It's one of my favorite ways to do that. Next, let's talk about a foam roller hurdle over. This is my favorite hip strengthening exercise of all time. Okay. So I'm going to grab a foam roller, and you need a foam roller that's at least probably 20 inches long. Anything shorter than that, it's not going to work. So I have my foam roller sideways. I'm going to put it up on the wall about knee height. Okay. The more hip mobility you have, the higher your foam roller can be. Okay. So if you're just starting, I would start with your foam roller maybe below your knees. If you're getting pretty good at it, raise it a little higher. I'm going to stand on my right leg, and my right inner thigh is holding this foam roller up against the wall. Okay. Standing up nice and tall, hands on my hips. I'm going to use this left hip to lift up and over my foam roller, touch the ground, and then back, up and over. Touch the ground, up and over, touch the ground, back, up and over. Okay. So core muscles really engaged to keep you nice and strong. Okay. Another one of my favorite kind of all-encompassing hip strengthening exercise is a hip airplane. So I'm going to stay with the same setup. Right inner thigh is holding that foam roller up on the wall. I'm going to bend over at the waist, let my left leg just hang out in the air. I'm going to use this right outer glute to lift up. This right inner thigh comes down. Okay. outer glute lifts up, inner thigh comes down. It's a very challenging hip strength, hip mobility exercise. Can't recommend it enough. So that's where I would start. If you need to get a more independent seat, get your horses to connect to you more, this is what I would do. Are you loving our content and are wondering how you can support your hosts? Subscribe to our podcast on Spotify for access to all our episodes ad-free. For $4.99 a month, you can help us bring you the quality content you need to elevate your ride. If you're interested in sponsoring an episode for your business, our packages start at $25 an episode and offer you a wide range of exposure to equestrians. Click the Sponsor Us link in the show notes to learn more. Okay, so my hips are strong now. Now I need to focus on the other things. So the first thing that I'm going to take you guys through is how I'm going to keep myself from kind of chicken heading and bobbing my head and neck like I wanted to in that video. So if you watch the video back, you can see that I just was not very strong through my back, my glutes, my hamstrings, my calves. I had too much movement, and that's for two reasons. One, I was trying not to be too tight, right? So I was allowing for movement through my body, but the problem was that I was creating the horse's movement with my body instead of using my feet to drive my horses back up to my seat and then allowing my body to move. I was creating movement, not allowing movement. So basically, my body was doing a little bit of this, right? Okay. So I need my body to be more here and then allow these hips to move without the rest of my body moving with my hips. So the first thing that I'm going to do is a back extension with a pulse. So I'm going to lay on my stomach, arms out to the side, fingertips on the ears, and I'm going to use my lower back to lift up into a back extension. I'm going to do 2 pulses. So 1, 2, then I'm going to come all the way back down to the floor. Going to go up into a back extension, pulse, 1, 2, then I'm going to come back down. One more time, lift up into that extension, 1, 2, come back down. So that's going to teach my body to stay back a little bit more, not just fall forward. It's teaching me to stay back, stay strong. Next, I'm going to do a reverse lunge with a knee drive. So this is, again, one of those combination exercises where it's not isolated. I'm using multiple body parts at one time. So it's building off that back extension exercise. So I'm going to stand up nice and tall, strong horsemanship position like I want when I ride. I'm going to step my right leg back behind me. I'm going to go down into a reverse lunge. Then I'm going to drive my right knee up in front of my right hip. I'm going to step right back into that reverse lunge, go down, come up, and then drive that knee up. Okay. So what I want to see is my horsemanship position not changing as I go through the movement. And then I really have to use that posterior chain to drive forward, which is what I need more when I ride. I need to be able to sit and hold and drive forward without a lot of movement. To take it a step further for another combination exercise, I'm going to do a row with a reverse lunge. Okay. So I anchored a resistance band in front of me. I'm holding the band in my left hand. I have my right arm in a horsemanship position. I'm going to step my left leg back. I'm going to go down into a reverse lunge. I'm going to pull on my band into a row. Then I'm going to stand up, step forward, and bring my feet together. Left leg back, go down, row, stand up, feet together. Again, I don't want my body to leave this horsemanship position. I want to feel strong engagement through the backside of my body. Okay. That's what I'm looking for. Are you ready to take your riding to the next level? Better performance starts with a mindset shift. How you think, train, and show up each day. Positive affirmations like small steps toward big goals, progress over perfection, and consistency builds confidence serve as powerful reminders to stay focused and committed. Check out our Elevate Your Ride affirmation merch, linked in the show notes, and add intention to your everyday routine. Okay, so next, it was really hard for me to rotate effectively for square corners, hunch turns, turning in general. I struggle with that, but Beth really pointed it out. So what she wanted me to be able to do was be able to sit on the horse, sit square, and then be able to rotate. So let's say that I'm riding on a left track and I want to do a left square corner. She wanted me to rotate to the left through my core, so through my hips, and let this left elbow come behind me and let this right elbow slide forward. Okay. So she wanted a true rotation. And that was really hard for me to do. I have a back injury, I have a spinal fusion. My lower back doesn't have a lot of mobility in it. So to be able to sit there, hold even pressure, not lose my kind of loose horsemanship position, I wanted to turn with my shoulders. I didn't want to turn with my hips. And when I did turn with my hips, I kept my elbows by my sides. I didn't slide one elbow back and the other elbow forward. So I was restricting my own ability to effectively rotate. So first thing I need to do is introduce a little bit more rotation through my spine and my hips. So the first thing that I'm going to do is called a figure 4 twist rotation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay on my back, knees bent, feet on the floor. I'm going to stretch that right leg up in the air. I'm going to bend my right knee and put my right ankle on my left thigh. I put my hands on my lap. I'm going to twist to the left until my right foot hits the ground. And I'm going to stretch both arms out in front of me. I'm going to use this right outer hip and this right oblique to rotate and open my body into external rotation. Okay, and then I'm going to use my left oblique, the opposite oblique, to pull me back the other way. Okay, so I'm focusing on rotating through my hips, not initiating the movement with my hand. So I'm rotating through my hips, allowing my body to move into that rotation. Okay. And then next, I'm going to move on to a half kneeling rotation. So I'm kneeling on my knees. I'm going to bring my left foot forward into a half kneeling kind of forward lunge position. I'm going to stretch both arms out in front of my chest. Again, I'm going to use my hips to open me up into external rotation. So I'm going to open up and then I'm going to come back forward. Open up and come back forward. It looks easy. You actually have to have a lot of hip control and hip strength to not wobble during this. So I want to allow my body to have mobility, but be strong enough that I don't fall over either. Okay. And then the last way that I'm going to introduce rotation is just standing. So I'm going to stand up tall, hands on my hips, and I'm going to rotate as far as I can to the right, making sure that my arms come with me. And then I'm going to come back to the center and I'm going to rotate as far to the left as I can. So I'm allowing my upper body to move through this rotation. And I can't get very far. Okay. And that's okay. I'm going to work on it. So now I need to add a little bit of rotational strength into my routine. So I'm going to start off with a forward lunge rotation. So I'm going to stand up tall, strong horsemanship position. I'm going to step my right foot forward into a forward lunge. I'm going to go down. I'm going to rotate to the right and back center. I'm going to rotate to the left and back center. Then I'm going to stand back up, step back, feet together. Now I'm going to step my left foot forward, go down into my lunge, rotate to the left, back center, rotate to the right, back center, and then stand up and step back. Now I noticed that I was doing that. I didn't let my shoulders or I didn't let my elbows move from my sides, which is exactly what Beth kept getting on me about. So this is going to be hard for me. So I'm going to show you again. I'm going to go down into a lunge. I'm going to rotate and I'm going to allow my arms to move. I'm not going to hold them by my sides. I'm going to allow my arms to move. I'm going to come back center. I'm going to rotate, allow my arms to move. Ooh, almost lost my balance a little bit. You see, this is hard for me. I need this. Next, I'm going to go back over to my band that's still anchored in front of me. I'm going to hold my band in my left hand. I'm going to put my right arm into a horsemanship position. And I'm going to do a row with a rotation. So I'm going to use the left side of my back to go into a row while I also let my body rotate to the left. I'm going to come back straight, push my arm forward, go into my rotation. I'm really focusing on letting my arms move, not just holding them in a static position, allowing the rotation, not resisting it. Next, I'm going to move into a side plank rotation. So another rotational core exercise. I'm going to go up into a side plank on my left side. Then I'm going to go rotate down to the floor, reach my right arm underneath my body. Then I'm going to rotate up to the ceiling, reach my arm up to the ceiling. Okay, rotate down, bring my arm through, and then lift up. You can see it got a little wobbly there. That's hard. That's hard for me. Okay. That's a really, really good rotational strength exercise. And last but not least, we're going to talk about how I'm going to strengthen my feet. So if you're like me and you're unfortunate and you have flat feet, this is something you should work on. So I don't have a lot of control out of my feet naturally, even in my daily life. So I've been doing a lot of feet strengthening exercises for a while, and I'm making good progress, but I need more. So I'm going to start by sitting on the ground with my knees bent and my feet on the floor. And I have my feet pretty close to my butt. I'm going to do what's called toe yoga. Okay. So I'm going to raise my big toes only. So staying seated in this position, I'm going to use the top of my foot, lift up, then I'm going to come back down. Use the top of my foot, lift those big toes up and back down. And I'm trying really hard not to curl all the other toes. I'm trying to not let my foot position change, which I can do really well on the right side. That left side, not very well. I doubt you can see that on the camera, but it's not easy for me. Now I'm going to keep those big toes down. I'm going to lift all my little toes up and then back down. Lift all my little toes up and then back down. Okay. Now I'm going to alternate. So all the toes flat on the floor, big toes only, then back down, little toes up only and back down, big toes up only, down, little toes only and down. Okay. So if you don't have good control on your feet when you ride or in your daily life, you need to be doing some toe yoga. Next, I'm going to do what's called ice cream scoops. So I have this medium strength resistance band here, and I'm going to put it on around my feet. Okay. So it's sitting in the middle of my feet around my arches. Okay. Now I'm going to draw an ice cream scoop movement. So kind of like an oval. Okay. So I'm going to draw a little scoop and then come back. Draw a little scoop and come back. The further apart your feet and the heavier resistance band you use, the better. Okay. So this is working on strengthening the outside of my lower leg. And I'm trying really hard to keep my toes flat. My big toe really wants to push down and drive the movement. And that is not good. That's why I'm not having good connection with my feet in the saddle. So I need to make sure that that big toe does not drive down. Okay. And now I'm going to do that on the other side. Okay. I'm going to do my little ice cream scoop. And I'm going to focus on not pushing down with that left toe, which is so hard. Okay. And then I'm going to go the other direction. Okay. So now I'm going to switch to the other side again and hold resistance, pulling to the outside of the foot. That way I'm strengthening the inside. So again, I'm going to make that ice cream scoop movement. Really focus on the inside of my calf and my arch. Again, that big toe just really wants to drive down. So hard. Hold it up, Ellie. Okay. Now I'm going to do it on the other side. So put it around and then draw my big ice cream scoop. This stuff is the hardest stuff for me. I don't know if you can tell that by watching the video, but I can sure feel it. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to put my band on just above my ankles. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to do some calf raises. So I've got my feet far enough apart that I feel some resistance on that band. And then I'm going to stand up nice and tall, hands on the hips or a horsemanship position. And I'm going to do some calf raises. And I'm going to focus on feeling my toes pushing down into the floor, feeling strength underneath the bottom of my feet, holding strong through my core so I don't fall down. Okay. And then now I'm going to turn my toes out into like a sumo squat position. So feet a little further apart, toes turned out into external rotation, which is more similar to riding. Now I'm going to do those calf raises again with my feet in this position to challenge how it is when I'm actually riding. So those are all the things that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing all those exercises 2 to 3 times a week. 1 set, 10 reps about of each exercise. And hopefully I see progress in the next 6 to 8 weeks. If I don't, after being consistent, see the progress, then I will make some adjustments and try again. That's all that fitness is trying something. If it doesn't work, make adjustments, try again. So I really hope that you learned something from this episode. Thank you for watching or listening. And again, give me feedback for if you're enjoying the video podcast or if you prefer just the audio. If you enjoyed the more horse trainer content we've been putting out lately, Or if you're like, oh, I kind of miss the fitness and the mindset, let me know. I want to know. I want to give you guys stuff that you want to listen to. Okay. Thank you for coming today, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you for listening to the Elevate Your Ride podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend, follow us on social media, or leave a positive review. Please note, the views, ideas, and education shared on this podcast are intended for general education, and you should always consult with your team before making any big changes.